in your Black beauty supply stores. You can find it everywhere, but in other countries, it's not well distributed like that. And so that's what got me into the hair care industry. And then, as we know, we have emerging markets like Brazil and Colombia and countries in East Africa like Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania. They're having a large middle class that is growing. They're thriving. They're educated. They're media savvy. They have funds. They have connections to Western countries. They might have relatives that lived in Canada, or they might have re-immigrated back to their home country. And then you have this large growing number of Black Americans and other Americans who are looking to move to developing countries, to these emerging markets. So that's also impacting spending power, local spending power. Then another reason why businesses are expanding globally, of course, are digital commerce opportunities. So Amazon is not the only player when it comes to digital commerce. A lot of emerging markets are opening up their own versions of their Amazon, where they bring in products global from the U.S. and then they open up a website and they sell everything on the website, so people don't have to import directly from Amazon. They can just look at the local market. And I saw that when I lived in Honduras. There were a lot of companies that were starting to do that. And that was back in 2012, 2011. So I'm sure things have skyrocketed now. And even in Rwanda, online shopping was becoming a new thing. I had lived in Rwanda for 4 years, so that was becoming a new thing. And another thing is reducing dependence on one economy. So we're seeing political and economic changes here in the United States, and so that's helping people kind of think a little bit outside the box. Because even in America, we have there's some people might say we're in a political unstable environment. So they're looking globally and looking at markets that are more friendly to new business owners, diverse business owners, and so that is another reason why people are looking to expand. And then also global tech, as I mentioned before, changing cultures, moving around the world. And so that's going to shift the talent pool. And you have a large number of, they have a large educated population. If you're a business owner, you might not need to bring in like U.S. American employees or employees from Europe, because there's just such a rich educated talent pool in Nigeria. So these are some of the ways to be thinking about when you look at expanding, just looking at new markets, new opportunities that are available as you grow your business. So before I end my presentation, I do want to offer you guys a complimentary readiness assessment. This is basically like me assessing your business and helping you create like a strategic roadmap. So that are happening, particularly like with Africa and the United States, that is causing food security concerns, particularly like in South Sudan or even in Ethiopia, Eritrea era. There's definitely food security that we need to be aware of. And then the war in Ukraine that's continuing to go on, that's disrupting supply chains, and grains that were normally being shipped to particular areas around the world are being disrupted. So these are some of the instabilities that businesses have to be aware of. And then also there's a political instability. Some markets we are quite surprised there's political instability, but like things are changing, shifting very rapidly. You have with the internet and social media and just this AI, that all of that is disrupting elections. Other countries are being involved in foreign elections, so that's causing disruption. That's disrupting how people vote, is changing perceptions. So these are all risks that we have to be aware of. And so when you're making your decisions, you just need to be aware of some of the political and the geopolitical issues that are happening in the background. So, how do you evaluate a new market? Let's say you feel like this market, let's say you're in the United States, you have your business in Philadelphia or Chicago, and you want to, you have like I don't know, shea butter business. I'll just use that as an example. And you want to expand to new markets. Well, how do you evaluate a new market if you've never been to a country, if you don't have contacts there? And that's the experience I was in when I was in Rwanda and Honduras. I didn't have family that lived in Rwanda. I don't have any relatives that lived there, and I didn't know the culture. I had never traveled there before until we moved there physically. So I had the advantage that I was actually in the country, and I think that's the best way to look at a country is actually go visit it. But before you do that, there's lots of resources that are available online through our U.S. government resources. There's a plethora like the U.S. Trade Administration. They have country reports. Every country that the United States has diplomatic relationships with has country reports. And you can look at those reports to kind of determine if this is a market for you. You can look at the World Bank has doing business abroad. They produce an annual report doing business with the World Bank. So they have country reports. You have the Department of Commerce. They have different country reports. So that can give you some background information on looking at a market that you can choose. And then also the tax and regulatory environment. Some countries are easier to understand their tax laws. I mean, even our tax laws in the United States can be complicated. So that's definitely an issue when you're looking at whether or not you want to expand to a new market. And then infrastructure and logistics. When I lived in Honduras, the logistics, so I was importing US based products, US cosmetic products, Luster's products, and Mixed Chicks. I don't know if you've heard of Mixed Chicks. It's a shampoo for curly, wavy hair. And so I had to think about like, how was I going to bring these products over? Do I bring it by air? What about land? Luckily, Honduras had a port. They have an ocean front. So that was easier for me to navigate. But when it came to importing into Rwanda, that was even more complicated because it's landlocked and they depend on ports from Kenya and Tanzania. And so I had to kind of like navigate. And I was able to import from both sides. My first shipment into the country ended up being air shipment. I just used Ethiopian Airlines. They were pretty easier to work with because they do air cargo. And when I talk about air shipment, I just like bring it on a suitcase, but like using different airlines cargo service to bring your goods into the country. And that's a quick way to do it, but it's also expensive. As I grew my business, I started to source the same type of hair care products to Rwanda, but from Dubai. Dubai was a major central point where a lot of U.S. companies would just ship their products to Dubai because they had very low tax rates there. And so then from Dubai, you can bring your products into Africa. So that seemed like an easier way to do it because it was low cost. I can just I can bring it by sea instead of by air. I'm getting the same products. And I was able to find out about that network, just networking on the ground and talking to people, because a lot of folks were importing stuff from Dubai, and so business people help business people. That was my experience in Rwanda. It was a great business experience, and then also looking at market demand, purchasing power. So Rwanda and Honduras middle class market were a little bit different. I would say the middle class market in Honduras was larger because you had foreigners that were vacationing in Miami and they would travel back and forth to the United States. So you had a large Honduran diaspora in the United States, and that in turn increased middle class purchasing power because people were sending money back home. And then also, whereas Rwanda, I was there just 20 years after their genocide against the Tutsis. And so I, that market had a smaller middle class market, and most of the people who were middle class were expats. They were either expats or former, or they were diasporans. So they lived in London or lived in Belgium, and they were able to move back to Kigali, start up a business, or start working there. So that helped grow the middle class market. And then another thing to look at is currency and banking systems. Not every country has the same type of banking system. So you have to think about how you're going to move money from your U.S. bank account to the local banking system, and how you're going to pay your buyers. How you're going to pay your people that you're doing business with, your vendors. And so just give you an example, when I lived in Nigeria, I didn't start a business there, but I did start buying local goods that I was planning to sell to kind of test the market here in the United States. And the banking system in Nigeria, it was complicated for me. But because of all the fraud, they have a very tight banking system. But I was able to use, like, they have these type of apps that you can easily transfer money from your U.S. bank account to a local Nigerian bank account using the bank number and the bank name. So that was easier, but you just can't go to any ATM with a U.S. debit card and withdraw money from the bank. So that was Nigeria. Honduras and Rwanda were very easy. I think they're more tied to the U.S. banking system, so it was easy to transfer money across the different banking systems. So those are things to kind of evaluate when you're looking at opening your business in a new market. And then also cultural and diaspora connections. Most countries, like, they have like these, like, I call them underground WhatsApp groups, where you have expats and just people who have these WhatsApp group chats. And those are really great resources if you're able to tap into that to get business connections and to get business leads. Those are great opportunities to do that. So these are some of the ways you can kind of evaluate your market as you look to expand. And then the next thing is diplomatic engagement, government resources. This is kind of like my bread and butter of my business. Like I stated earlier, I've worked with USAID for a short period of time, and then I also served as a former diplomat and worked at State Department, working in different offices. And so that kind of gave me a strong idea about how, not just like the resources available within the U.S. government, but how do you engage with a foreign government? I've dealt with quite a different foreign governments, particularly Mexico, Honduras, Tanzania, and Rwanda. So that's kind of given me good background on managing relations between foreign governments. And foreign governments, they want U.S. businesses. They want to work with foreign businesses. I find they are a little bit very open and receptive. And there's different ways to kind of tap into this. So on the U.S. side, you do have the U.S. Department of Commerce. They have export assistance. They have some of these services are free, and just definitely visiting their website to see what else they can offer for you. And then the Export-Import Bank, they help with financing major U.S. goods and services so that they can help bring jobs back to the United States. So that is also another resource. And then you have the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. So they've expanded. Now USAID has has yeah, so now USA is gone, I would say, for now. You DFC has definitely expanded. They have a lot of money that's over there, and their whole idea is to try to help US businesses partner with local organizations, local business, so they can expand and grow. And they finance these projects, and they're being really focused on critical minerals. That's like the big project that a lot of these U.S. government organizations are focused on. And then you have the embassy and trade mission support. So, like I said, the United States has U.S. embassies practically all around the world. So if I were going to a new country, that would be my first stop, especially as a U.S. business. And the good thing is, if you are in the U.S., you can visit foreign embassies and they'll be willing to help you. So you don't have to travel far to do that. So definitely connect with the embassies, or even if you're not American and let's say you are Nigerian and you want to do business in the Congo. Well, if you're in Nigeria, I would definitely connect with the Congolese embassy there in Nigeria to like get some support or at least see what they can offer. And this is a great way to get started. Just getting that background, getting contacts. I was able to do that when I was in Honduras. I met first with our economic officer that was at the U.S. Embassy in Honduras, and they gave me a rundown of who to talk to, and because they're in touch with the local business community, and most of their contacts are like the big corporations, so they know how you can navigate, who you can connect with. But when it comes to like those nitty gritty things, like how do I get a realtor to open up my new store? Or how do I find a company that can help me ship my goods overseas? That's where you might have to expand your network outside of the embassy and focus on attending like trade missions. Like when I went to in Rwanda, like I stated earlier, I didn't know anyone. I did contact my U.S. embassy because I was there under the mission there, but they can only support you up to so much. They were able to tell me about an upcoming trade mission that the Rwandan government was having in town, and that brought in like vendors from different countries that were selling their goods as well as shipping countries. And so I met a shipping company there and they were very professional. I felt very comfortable around them. And then I went to their office and I met some of their staff. And that's when I determined, okay, I can kind of work with them. And so that was when I was able to kind of integrate myself into the Rwandan business community, as well as just better understand the trade environment and how it works, and be able to get people to help me ship my goods from Dubai to Kigali. So attending those trade missions is a very important step. And of course, your diaspora networks, attending trade investment forums. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. There's always U.S. Africa trade events that happen, especially around the World Bank meetings. That's another good space to invest your time in, attending the World Bank spring and fall meetings. I strongly recommend those. That can really give you some good insight, and then just get the contacts you need to expand your business. And then also, I want to mention um, the UN meetings that they have build those international business contacts. So how do you do market research? Every great business needs a great business plan. You need to understand the market. While I strongly advise to go to the market, that way you can really feel, smell, really get a good feel for the market. If you're not able to, you can definitely do online research, or hire companies like myself that can do that for you. And so, of course, you want to understand the local competitors. This is really important. I think that's the most important because American, and I'm only talking as from a U.S. perspective, but the way U.S. customers respond to products here are not the same way they respond to products in other countries. For example, when I sold shampoo in Honduras, Americans don't need samples in order to decide whether or not they want to try a new brand, because there's always these new brands. If you go to any like Walmart or Target, there's like a whole shelf of all these brand new products. And sometimes just seeing it on Instagram or seeing it on a friend that you might have heard about using it, or just liking the way the bottle looks and looking at the ingredients. So the Americans are quicker to decide, okay, I'll just try this shampoo. I've never used it. I don't know anybody that use it, but I'm going to try it. Whereas in Honduras, it's about personal relationships. So they need to test the product first before they try it. And then I was in Honduras, I found myself investing a lot in samples. Um, I've never been in a market like that where they will not try a product, even if it's from the US, even if it's nicely packaged, they want samples. So I had to invest a lot in samples. Whereas when I was in Rwanda, they're conservative culture. So if they know, like if it's a popular brand, like I was selling Cantu, which was a very popular US brand, if they know that brand, they'll just buy it. So as long as you have that particular brand, they will buy it. They don't need to try the product before they buy it. They don't need to ask their friends. So those little things that you'll know as you do your market research. And that kind of goes into the consumer behavior piece. Like once you know how analyze the market, then you can kind of analyze how the consumers will behave. Then, of course, reviewing trade data and trends, disinformation you can kind of find online. A lot of U.S. government agencies have lots of resources to look at different data trends when it comes to trade. The legal and licensing requirements, some of that you're going to have to contact local experts on the ground. You can start off with the U.S. government or your own government and then build from there to determine what the requirements are when it comes to licensing. Local partnerships and advisors. I agree with this to a certain extent. It depends on what your business is, and you have to look at the business culture. And I always think that like the more corrupt the government is, the more corrupt the government corruption reflects the business environment. um, I'm a strong believer in that. I'm a little bit biased. So when I was in Honduras, that was a corrupt government, and therefore the business environment was corrupt. Like people want to pay you on credit, and it was hard to find people you can trust. And then you had the narco violence that was impacting business relationships. So people didn't even want to share their business card with you. They might give you a phone number, but they wouldn't give you their card, because if someone receives your card, then they can use that information to try to extort you. So that was what I was dealing with in Honduras. Whereas in Rwanda, they are very strict over there, and even though it was not. I can pass out business card. I never had any extortion or bribes in Rwanda because the government was very strict. Now every government has a little bit of corruption, but over there, it was a very easy country to do business with. And I strongly advise visiting the market in person. You can only do so much through online research and talking to people. Sometimes you just have to take that trip, turn into a vacation, have a couple of meetings with a couple of business experts, and then you can determine whether or not you want to enter that market. So those are some of my ideas on that's worked for me as a business owner. And then once you do your market research, you just get started as you've done before. Each market has their own business entry requirements. And so I would look at the World Business Report, Doing Business report that they produce, where they kind of break down some of the market trends, some of the challenges, what are the different industries where people are the most successful, the different resources that are available. That can help you determine how to enter the market. And then, of course, securing banking, payment systems. As I stated earlier, if I was doing business in Nigeria, you need to open up a local Nigerian bank account. And then you just can't open up a bank account at any bank. You need to open up a bank account that is legit as well, because even when I was in Nigeria, you get random calls from people saying, "Hey, I heard you opened up a bank account. Can I, talk to you more about that?" So that was my experience there. Whereas in Rwanda, I didn't have that kind of experience, but I used Bank of Kigali. That was a very well-known bank. It was easy to transfer money from the United States to Kigali and back and forth. So that made a big difference. And in Honduras, their banking system is definitely more tied to the United States. So they have more U.S. banks. So I would work with Citibank, which had a big office in Honduras. So it's easier for me to do business in those countries. And then going to finding local talent, that kind of goes into those diaspora WhatsApp groups and just building business relations that can help you understand how to do your business overseas. And the most important is the labor laws. I'll just be honest, I've gotten myself in trouble a few times because you start to do business the way you do in the United States. And the way other countries do business is different, and their labor laws are different. It's not easy to fire people overseas, especially in the emerging markets where jobs are very scarce. So if you're trying to lay off or you have to let someone go, before you even make that decision and tell that person, you should definitely connect with the government agencies and talk to lawyers so you're doing things properly and you won't be, they won't put you in you won't have a lawsuit or something. So those are the type of advice I will give to you if you're looking to expand. So that kind of sums up my presentation. I do offer services. I offer diplomatic engagements, I explained before, media relations. If you're looking to move overseas, move your team overseas, I can help with that, as well as market entry, market research, and business advisory services like investment, like learning how to get particular visas to attend to enter different markets. So those are some of the services I offer. And then I have a trade mission that's coming up August 5th to the 9th. I will be in Benin for this summer. And so I'm inviting you to come visit me in Benin with this trade mission. We'll be looking at different industries that are popping up in Benin. You have the agriculture, agribusiness. We'll be visiting different business sites there. Beauty and cosmetic business, that's a sector I'm very familiar with, as well as real estate opportunities. Why Benin? I have business, I have connections over there, so I just thought it'd be an easier place for me to run this trade mission. And it's becoming like a growing market in West Africa. People are really looking to expand over there, and now they're offering citizenship opportunities. So if you're from the diaspora, African diaspora, you can get your citizenship in Benin. So these are some great opportunities. So I'm hosting like a free information session next week, next Wednesday. It's different with Kuueza, but since we're here, I just thought I should mention this trip that I'm really excited about for you to join. And I don't know if you have any questions.
All right. Haidra, if we were in a fiscal space, this is the right moment to clap our hands and give you a standing ovation. It's really, really apt. Your sharing is apt and very personalized, which is what we always aim for in this kind of webinar. That we dial it down to the practicality, right? So that it doesn't just become a general webinar where vendors will leave those webinars asking that what's next, At the end of this webinar, vendors should know exactly what is next and then the steps to take. So we really appreciate you taking time to connect with us and the Kuueza family today. On behalf of the vendors, I know the appreciation will still keep coming. And so we will just head on to take a few comments and questions, inquiries that you have for Haidara. From what she shared, you can guess that she's a very busy person.
Hello.
Thank you.
She's a very busy person, and so just as you have her right now, let's make the most.
Maybe something in Kaka.
Let us make the most of it. So we have a couple of hands up that I will just mention. I think yes, Dr. Moses, your hand is up. Yeah, so Dr. Moses, quickly, some of the things that I picked up from Haidara was the honesty.
Yes, the second one.
The honesty and how how she just said things as they are. There's no flowering political statements here. It's just telling you what is happening. And one of the things you mentioned was with samples. Whenever we take samples from vendors to introduce their products into new markets, most vendors would ask that, so the samples I'm giving out, when will I get paid? They expect that the samples that have been taken to be sold off and then remittances made to them. But from the sharing we just heard from Madam Haidara, who has experience in dealing with multiple countries outside the US, I'm very glad that she has been able to paint the real picture as to why we take samples. We always tell our vendors that before your product, the buyer had something they were getting by with. The buyers are not going to use shea butter for the first time to me. They are probably not going to use the African black soap for the first time to me. There are things and there are products that they have gotten by and gotten used to. If you want to be an alternative for those people, then we need to find other strategies. And that's, for me, I'm happy the sample issue came out. As for the corruption we have in the government, I like it when she said every government has a bit of corruption, which is very true. very true. And all of us here, we know, especially when we are working towards getting certification, when we're working towards getting approvals from government agencies and all that, we know what goes on. But then again, she has offered practical insights on how to navigate that as well. Finally, for me, before Dr. Moses comes in, was with the market research that Ms. Haidara mentioned, as something that should not just be overlooked. So when she was sharing how she entered those markets, you could see the ton of work and the intention that was kept in the expansion. So as an SME entering new market, you are putting yourself out there to be used as a sacrificial lamb. You have to, there's a quote that says, if you want to shine like the sun, you have to burn like it. Things have to be done differently than what you do in your normal backyard and corner business. This is the international stage, and you have to come here prepared or vocal. These are some of the key highlights I think from your sharing, Madam Haidara, and I really appreciate. We, on behalf of the team, appreciate you for making time. I will take Dr. Moses, and from Dr. Moses, we'll come to Twala. Dr. Moses, great to have you here. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maxwell. That's Maxwell. Val, it's my pleasure to be on this great session of this webinar. And I want to appreciate Kuueza for bringing such a highly resourceful person to share with the SMEs her experiences, which are practical, and the experiences are garnered not by theory, but practical experiences of life, touch with events. So I want to appreciate all that she has shared on behalf of your farm cooperative, even though I have some of our people that joined on this. We cannot thank Kuueza enough for such opportunity in opening the eyes so that people will know that it's not just kind of a microwave and stuff when it comes to dealing with market outside your country. It takes a lot of things that has to be put in place. Like her advices has been able to open up the eyes of many people. And also the opportunity she is equally bringing on the table of her program that is coming up in August. We will also see how we can be able to be part of it. And personally, I want to thank her. And I think I've met her in Mali 2023 during the Diaspora program, if she can remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. How are you, Moses?
I'm fine, thank you. And how's the family and the job going?
Yeah, it's going well.
So we want to thank you, and we look forward to also opening up our country for you to be able to bring in all those amazing opportunities that you carry. So I want to thank you so much for all you do for us through this program and what you are currently bringing on board Africa. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Moses, for bringing in that one. Dr. Moses' resilience and interest in the work we do is very enviable. He's currently on this call. He's our longest serving vendor in the history of Kuueza. And he has done tremendous business with us. And coordinating products and helping SMEs in Nigeria and take their products to the US. Through Dr. Moses, we've had tons and tons of African products ending up in the kitchens, in the storerooms of not just the Black population, but the ideal US consumer. So Dr. Moses, we also continue to appreciate you. So let's take Twana. Twana, are you here? Let's hear from you.
Greetings, everybody. How's everyone doing? I trust they're all well. Alexandra, we really appreciate you sharing your insights on both opportunities and challenges, as well as how we can maybe navigate the markets globally. Your input, really is valuable and it's thought-provoking. Just one quick question. I just want to find out. I'm into agriculture, and we have also established an export company where we just want to export the local shoes, everything that's maybe done in South Africa and is in Eswatini. I'm actually based both in Eswatini and South Africa. So I just want to find out how can maybe one use partnerships to at least leverage for funding as well as maybe market access. Is there a way of you assisting in that to identify maybe partners, strategic partners who are willing to invest in Eswatini or in South Africa, especially for the farming side of things? Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for your question. So all right. So you are based in South Africa. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I operate in South Africa and in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, for sure. There's definitely starting with, of course, the South African government will be a good start, but I'm sure are there different African markets they're trying to bring in these venture capitalists to try to help with financing and finding investors to help with growing businesses. And then, some of the corporations like MasterCard and there's some other organizations I have to kind of do some research, but I've seen where they try to partner with local businesses to help grow, to help invest, and then also maybe even looking with DFC to see what opportunities are available with the Development Finance Corporation that you can tap into. Because if you have like a strong, huh? What did you say? Oh.
No, there's somebody else. I'm not sure.
Okay. No, what I was saying was the Development Finance Corporation, that's a great opportunity to see what type of funding they're providing. Because I know DFC has a South Africa portfolio, and that's what they do. They kind of bring in U.S. companies that want to partner in some of these markets that they're focusing on. And agriculture is definitely a sector that they're focusing on. So definitely DFC, looking at what's available within the South African government, and then also these venture capitalist firms. That is another opportunity. You have like Goldman Sachs has a program. They have an entrepreneurship program for women entrepreneurs. So those are some of the resources I would kind of look at.
Okay. No, thank you so much. What's the last one you mentioned? Goldman?
Goldman Sachs. Uh-huh.
Okay. I'll probably have to maybe try and explore that one, because of the DFIs you've mentioned, your MasterCards and everything. We have tried to send our applications, but obviously they focus on the conglomerates. Us down there, we are hardly considered. So, yeah, it becomes a challenge. But yeah, we'll keep trying.
Okay, well, we can talk more in depth about this. Maybe we can. My contact information is here. So if people want to,
cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we have any other questions, and I'm hoping everyone got the QR code just to share, even if you not ready to go to Benin just yet. You can at least share the information and let everyone know to see who we can bring on with us. So
we have sorry, I might not get the name right. Eskeda. Eskeda, let's hear from you. Then we will take well after that.
Okay. How are you, everyone?
Great.
Hello. Yes. How are you?
Good. That was a great presentation. Thank you, Alexandria, for the presentation. This is Skadar from Ethiopia. So I'm on the manufacture business, making fashionable clothes. We have a brand name called Kerment. Locally, we have stores of shops all over the country, 13 shops, 30. So far, it's been 2 years since we launched our brand, Kerment. And now we are very ready to export our products to the upper countries. So I have some questions for you that how do I start an export business? What's the main initials for the export business? And also, what's the biggest challenge you faced while you start the export business? And which continent is easier to export? Is it the Europe, Africa, US, Canada? Which is the easiest to get the export business, and how to get the potential buyers? These are my questions. And mainly, you mentioned on your presentation that there's an African-made trade fair in Washington, D.C. So how do you get that opportunity to participate on that event? I want to get that information from you. That is all I have.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Eskadar. So I always start with government resources, maybe because I worked in government. That's how I started off my career. But I think that's the best way when you're looking at exporting. At least you'll get the general information. I've never exported from Ethiopia, but I have used Ethiopian Airlines. So I thought they were really great when it comes to transportation. So connecting with them to see how much cargo they can carry, like looking at the different opportunities that you can look at when it comes to exporting. And as far as like markets, so, with all the tariffs coming from the United States and the uncertainty with the GOA, I think Europe probably will be an easier market, but, we won't give up too much on the U.S. I'm not going to, I feel a little biased there, but, definitely look at what the trends are, the tariffs that are coming out for clothing and apparel. I think that will be good because there's still clothing stores that are needing products. So people are definitely still importing, exporting. So I think there's definitely opportunity there. But I would want to see like what the tariffs are for your particular product first, and then you can compare it to European market, and then you have to decide: are you going to just do an online store, or are you going to try to supply particular stores clothing you have? But then you have to think about, is this like traditional Ethiopian wear, or is it just like a Ethiopian fusion, like with Western style clothing, if you will? So like maybe Ethiopian design, but it's like a T-shirt, for example. That's something to consider. And then the challenges I face exporting. So I mostly did the importing side. I wasn't exporting. Well, I guess I was kind of exporting from the U.S. in a way, but I think the challenges is just the logistics and then dealing with the cost. Once the goods land in a country, dealing with the cost, going back and forth with customs. I was really, because I had government experience, I knew that there was a trade agreement between the United States and Honduras under CAFTA. It was a Central America trade agreement, and so that allowed me to bring in goods duty free. But I needed to have like a certificate of origin. I needed to make sure my documents were in order so that I wouldn't have to pay taxes, because the shipping companies, they can be they can be corrupt as well. That's where there's double corruption at the government level, then at the customs level. So I was able to kind of navigate that because I knew that there was a trade agreement, and that was the same exact thing with happened in Rwanda. They had the East African Community trade agreements where you can trade between Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, I believe Burundi as well, duty free. But if you didn't have your certificate of origin, if you weren't aware of that program, it's not like the customs agents will tell you, oh, you don't have to pay these taxes. So making sure you understand the different trade agreements so that when you're exporting, you won't overpay in taxes, because that, of course, impacts your bottom line. So. Yeah, I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I also mentioned at the last one that there is an African trade fair, which is held in Washington. How do you get that opportunity?
Yeah, so the World Bank, they have some of these events most of them are free. So, like there's going to be one in the fall, probably around September and October. So just viewing their website to try to see the events that are going to be taking place. And there's also side events, also Corporate Council for Africa. That's another great place where they mostly it's like the big corporations that are a member of that organization, but they host trade events. Then you also just had CEO Africa, I believe, that was in Kigali, CEO Expo, or Africa CEO. Yeah, Africa CEO Expo. That was in Kigali, so that's definitely nearby. And being connected to the U.S. Embassy, if they have trade opportunities or events that will be great for you, I think that would be good. And that can give you a good introduction to the U.S. market and understand the resources on how you can penetrate that market. So I would start there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for sharing that one, and also Haidra for walking us through. So we have Noel. Noel, your hand is up. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that you served with USAID and as a diplomat in multiple countries. I'm really curious to know, being an American-based business owner and knowing our regulations and our restrictions pretty well, what was the most surprising difference that you noticed while dealing in international relations? Like, what gave you the biggest culture shock within foreign government?
Well, there's a lot there. So I would say the biggest cultural shock was, I think in America, like people a little bit. Okay, I'll give you. I think it's just about how people communicate and deal with when they're dealing with business, how they deal with each other. So in the U.S., you can just send an email to do business. You don't have to meet someone in person to do business. You don't have to know their uncles or know family members to get to know them. Whereas in other countries, particularly in developing countries and definitely in Africa, it's very personable. People don't even answer their emails if they don't know you. You have to meet with people in person a lot, whereas in the U.S. there's just people just don't have the time sometimes to meet in person. They'll just do video calls. I think that's the big thing right now. So that was like a big shock for me, and then dealing with the bureaucracy. Some bureaucracies are easier to navigate. I would say Rwanda was easier to navigate. That goes back to the corruption piece. Rwanda has relatively low corruption compared to Honduras. And so it was easy to know which office to deal with for this particular issue. And people were very straightforward. Oh, you go to this, you talk to this person, and they should be here at this time, and they're actually there. Whereas in Honduras, it was like going through it was just like dealing with just going through a maze, if you will, of trying to deal with the government there, and you to talk to them. And then it was a language barrier too, because I spoke Spanish, but it wasn't super fluent as I would have liked it to be. So I think that kind of hindered communication. But overall, it was different to deal with. And then also, I felt like in Honduras, I had to fact check people sometimes because, like, for example, when I registered my business in Honduras, I worked with the local Honduran business chamber, and they told me to do X, Y, and Z. And then I went to my attorney to register my business, and he did everything but the Y part of trying to complete the business application. So there was something missing, and he told me my business was registered. So if I didn't have the Honduran chamber to kind of help me make sure that everything was lined up, and I just went by what the attorney told me because he needed to get paid, then I would have been in a bad situation. And this was someone that was referred for someone who worked at the embassy. So, I just had to fact check people a lot. I had to have backup sources to make sure I'm getting to the truth in order to know what to do. Whereas in Rwanda, it was definitely straightforward. I was able to register my own business myself. I didn't need an attorney. I didn't need any third party to verify documents for me. It was just an easier process.
Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So we always try as much as possible to keep our webinars very, quick, so that the next time we are inviting you to another one, you would be interested in joining. We don't want to create the impression that anytime you see Road to Success webinar, you are crying as though this 3 hours in a game. So we are trying to keep it very, very, very tight. And so far, our resource person, your questions have really helped us in that effort. So from my end, I think then I will hear from Maxwell, and then few other team members there. I think there's a saying that fits squarely into what you shared, Haidra, about business, about African businesses. And the saying is that people buy people, people don't buy things. And so to wait that you would in Africa, you can find someone leaving their neighborhood convenience store and going into a different place to buy the same thing. You'd find someone for those our traditional drinks like palm wine and all that. You'd find that there might just be one behind their home, but they would leave there, go to another suburb, and then go and have the drink there. It might be because they feel better treated over there, or just like you said, they know someone's uncle and someone's auntie over there. So these dynamics also, have it serves us sometimes, and other times it just gets in the way as well. So I just wanted to also share that here. It's true. Even in Africa, if you don't have an office, having an office is a big deal. So I'm saying that you are working from home, or no one wants any of that, and so it puts so much stress on the SME to appear aesthetically nice, appear structured, and appear like a fully fledged experienced business when they are just starting out their journey. So some of these things sometimes they save us, and other times I believe they don't. And we have vendors here that can speak to that as well. Maxwell, are you here? Let's hear from you, then we can wrap up at 2 p.m. GMT or 3 p.m. West African time.
Thank you so much, Haidra, for such an amazing time. It's a pleasure to have you. For those of you who don't know, Haidra is my very good friend, and if there's a webinar you should attend this year, I think you're at the right place so that you can really hear the right word, not just theory, but people who have lived it, who experience what it means to be in international market, who experience what it means to do business cross-border beyond the shores of your country. So definitely it's the right person to share insight with us. I don't have much to add. For me, I just wanted to tell all the vendors and all the business owners, your business is like a seed that you plant. So let's say you have an orange seed. It's not an orange, it's a seed. But if you don't plant that seed, it doesn't become an orange. The tree will not grow for you to start, reaping the fruit. So you must plant the seed. Then it's going to grow and become an orange. That means every business is a process. So we need to really focus on process. When your business is a seed, it's not an orange yet. Mango seed, orange seed, they're all seed. But they're not going to become orange or mango if you don't plant it. Where do you plant it? The right environment and the right soil. Environment means the right people, the right place. And of course, there will be challenges. That's what we're discussing today. Your business, there are things that are not in our control. What do we do? It means that we have to focus on what is in our control and try to manage what is not in our control. We've had a lot of product shipped, containers turned back at the port of entry. That's a big challenge. What do? We just have to find a way to navigate it. So how to navigate those challenges is what we're talking about today. So see your business as a seed. Make sure it's planted in the right soil so that it can grow. When the challenges come, like if you plant a seed, let's say rain doesn't come. You're not going to force the rain to come. Maybe there's a global climate issue, so the rain is not falling to water your seed so that it can grow. Maybe you go into irrigation or you find water in a bucket and start watering it yourself. That is, you create an avenue to make sure your seed grows. You could have waited for the rain, but the rain never shows up. What are you going to do? You are not in control of the rain. Also, business, there are things you are not in control. What do? It means you have to come up with a mitigation strategy, plan B, plan C, to make sure the seed keeps growing. We are going to face challenges in our business. So you can do two things. You can run away. Oh, it's not the right place for me. We had a lot of vendors, when they face challenges, they quit. They cancel their subscription. They get angry. And we look at all of them, we laugh. You're going to get angry with everywhere you go because there's no 100% platform. So take note of that. You must stay somewhere to bring a long-term relationship. Business is relationship. Every business is built on relationship. Nobody will order 20 foot of your container if they don't know you. They're not even going to order 5 boxes from you because they don't know you. It's normal. You are not going to do that. Why do you expect people who do not know you to buy your product? It doesn't work that way. Even in a normal retail, when you walk into a resale shop, there is a product you've been buying for years. You go straight to the shelf and pick the product. Am I right? Because that's the product you're used to. It's just normal. But when they tell you there's a new product, what do? The first thing you ask is, what is the price? If the price is lesser than what you're used to, you say, okay, let me try. If the price is higher, you say, no, I'm used to this. I'll go for this. We need to put ourselves in the shoes. If you're selling product, you are exporting. Put yourself in the shoe of the consumer or the retailer or the buyer. What would the retailer think about my product? So whatever platform you go to, whichever avenue you want to sell your product, stick to the plan, stick to the process. It's painful, it's tough, but you're going to keep jumping from one place to another if you don't realize that it is not by going from place to place, it's by building relationship and following through the process. And that is what I meant by your business is like a seed. You have to plant it. So if you plant it, you can't remove the seed again and plant it somewhere else. It's not going to work. So that is what a lot of the businesses have been doing. When the business fails, they leave. They find something else. They find somewhere else. So you plant the seed, you remove it, you go elsewhere. You start from the beginning. Your business will never grow that way. That's what I leave you with. Thank you so much, Haidra. And thank you for all the...
No, I've enjoyed it. This has been great. I've enjoyed all the thoughtful questions, and I'm glad that this resonated with you. So thank you so much.
Over to you, Val. Thank you, Haidra.
So on behalf of the team, I really want to appreciate our resource person, Haidra, for making time to share this with us. We really appreciate and hope that we can have a sequel to this in the near future. And also appreciate you, of course, our community. You have dedicated almost 2 hours to this because of how serious you are about your business globally expanding. As you are well aware, we are in separate groups. However, there's none of our groups that is less than 50 participants. And yet we have just a few here. So we have to make this count. And I hope that there will be a lot of difference between all the vendors that's starting for this webinar and those that did it. So we have to make it count. So I really want to appreciate all of you. And I appreciate my team as well. Wale was here helping, and Maxwell, you were also in the chat. We really appreciate you all. So by way of announcements, we will have the recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel shortly, and then we'll also make the resource document, the slides that Haidra, walked us through. We'll also have a downloadable version of it, where you could also use to, archive it for reference. And we also got to draw our attention that there's a survey link that was shared that we really need to hear from you. One of the fields in that survey was for you to tell us what information, what capacity building you currently need for your business. Once we are able to look at the things you want to know and learn about, you will definitely bring with the right people to help us understand this person. So let's make this count. If you've not filled that survey, kindly do so and let us know what you want us to talk about in subsequent Road2Success webinar. So on behalf of the team and everyone, have a restful weekend. ahead, and then have a great day.
All right. Thank you.